Today we're diving into the complete history, development, and testing of the Audi 80. From its 1986 debut through the revolutionary upgrades in 1991, and later evolutions including the Avant Estate, various engine variants, and even the legendary RS2. In this video, we'll cover every detail. Design evolution, technical improvements, performance comparisons, durability tests, and even the opinions of German and British automotive journalists. Let's get started. In 1986, Audi introduced the third-generation Audi 80, a car with sleek lines, excellent aerodynamics, and a modern exterior. But while it looked great on the outside, it had some serious drawbacks. The interior felt cramped, and the trunk was smaller than buyers expected. Still, it sold reasonably well, with over 113,000 units sold in 1989 alone. But Audi wanted more. They had bigger ambitions. And in 1991, they made their next move. The Audi 80 B4 debuted in 1991 with a clear goal: to fix the shortcomings of its predecessor. More rear seat space, a bigger trunk, and, for the first time, six-cylinder engines. Audi was pushing hard to climb the premium ladder, aiming to compete with BMW and Mercedes-Benz. But was it enough? Let's break it down. The new model grew by 8 centimeters in length, with a wheelbase extended by 7. Track width increased, making the car look and feel more planted on the road. Audi also redesigned the rear end, finally allowing for folding rear seats and a larger 430-liter trunk, expandable to 712 liters. A huge improvement over the previous model. Inside, the B4 came with upgrades like a 5-speed manual transmission, power steering, and a height-adjustable driver's seat. Audi also introduced the Pro-Content safety system, an innovative feature that tightened seatbelts and moved the steering wheel away from the driver in the event of a crash. Under the hood, Audi finally offered a 6-cylinder engine. The most powerful version, the 2.8e, featured a 2.8-liter V6 with 174 horsepower. But there was a trade-off. More power meant more weight. The 6-cylinder model now weighed 1,330 kilograms, and the Quattro version went up to 1,370 kilograms. So, did this extra weight slow it down? Journalists were quick to put the new Audi 80 to the test. And while the 174 horsepower engine sounded promising on paper, real-world performance told a different story. The factory claimed a 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time of 8.0 seconds. But in reality, it took 9.3 seconds. Slower than expected, and just as fast as the larger Audi 100. The reason? A sluggish throttle response and a 5-speed gearbox with imprecise shifts. Audi made major changes to the rear suspension, borrowing a design from the Volkswagen Passat. This improved stability, but it wasn't enough to make the Audi 80 a true competitor to BMW's 3 Series. It still felt heavy in corners, lacked agility, and struggled to match BMW's sharp handling. However, comfort was a strong point. The suspension absorbed bumps well, making it a great highway cruiser. But there was one issue: tire noise. It was noticeable at any speed. Audi's biggest challenge? Beating the competition. The 80 B4 went head-to-head with the BMW 325i, Mercedes-Benz 190e, and Volvo 850 GLT. And while it was well-built and offered premium features, it still felt the most cramped inside. The sloping window line and front wheel arches made the cabin feel smaller than it actually was. The Audi 80 B4 was a big step forward. It had more space, better features, and finally, a 6-cylinder engine. But despite all these upgrades, it still couldn't quite match BMW or Mercedes in the premium segment. It was a solid car, well-engineered, comfortable, and practical. The Audi 80 B4, an iconic sedan of the early 90s. Was it truly worth its price, or was it just clever marketing? Let's break down its evolution, sales success, and whether it lived up to the hype. By the end of 1991, the Audi 80 B4 hit the market with a base price of 31,700 Deutsche Marks. Cheaper than some higher-powered versions, but still significantly more expensive than its predecessor. Just 5 years earlier, The Audi 80 B3 started at 23,000 marks, yet it was just as fast and more fuel efficient. So, what justified the price increase? VAG capitalized on the launch of a new model to push Audi into the luxury space. Under the leadership of Ferdinand Piëch, Audi steadily climbed to compete with Mercedes-Benz and BMW, using a strategy built on quality improvements and aggressive marketing. And it worked. The Audi 80 B4 became the fourth best-selling car in Germany by December 1991. Even in the newly reunified East Germany, it was only outperformed by the Opel Vectra in its class. Audi covered a wide market range, offering multiple engine options. Buyers could choose from four-cylinder gasoline engines ranging from 90 to 115 horsepower, a 2.3-liter five-cylinder with 133 horsepower, a six-cylinder 2.8-liter powerhouse pushing 174 horsepower, two four-cylinder turbo diesels, with a 90 horsepower TDI being the star performer in terms of fuel economy. The pricing varied accordingly, starting at 31,700 marks for the base model and reaching up to 52,635 marks for high-end versions. Buyers had an extensive list of optional features, although anti-lock brakes, ABS, electric windows, and central locking only came standard on the top-tier models. In March 1992, German automotive experts tested the Audi 80 lineup and provided their insights. Base model, 2.0L, 90 HP. Reliable but slow, requiring frequent gear shifts in city driving. However, its long fifth gear made highway cruising comfortable. 2.0E, 115 HP. With multi-point injection, it offered better acceleration, improved fuel efficiency, and a more responsive drive. The extra 2,600 marks was a justifiable upgrade. 2.3L 5-cylinder, 133 HP. At 4,000 marks more, it delivered slightly better performance but with noticeably higher fuel consumption. 2.8L V6, 174 HP. The priciest option, but with ABS and premium features included, it was deemed worth the upgrade for those seeking a refined driving experience. Quattro AWD, available on all but the base model. While it improved grip, journalists felt it was unnecessary for the 2.0L engine but highly beneficial for the 5- and 6-cylinder variants. 1.9 TDI diesel, 90 HP. Surprisingly recommended over the base gasoline model due to its superior torque, making it more engaging to drive. It was incredibly fuel efficient, consuming just 6.3 L per 100 kilometers under standard conditions. The 1.9 TDI was a game changer. Thanks to direct injection and reinforced engine components, it delivered excellent performance with impressive fuel economy. At highway speeds, it remained quiet, with real-world consumption as low as 5.2 L per 100 kilometers. With a 66 L fuel tank, the Audi 80 1.9 TDI could cover over 1,000 kilometers on a single tank, making it a dream for long-distance drivers. By 1992, the Audi 80 faced tough competition from BMW 320i E36. Superior chassis and driving dynamics, but less emphasis on build quality. Alfa Romeo 155 V6. More power but plagued by poor handling and questionable reliability. Mazda Zito 6. Stylish and well-equipped, yet lacking in space and refinement. When it came to build quality, Audi reigned supreme. However, BMW had the best chassis tuning, offering a near-perfect blend of handling and comfort. The Mazda and Alfa Romeo lagged behind, especially in terms of driving precision. The Audi 80 B4 successfully elevated Audi's reputation. It wasn't just marketing, it delivered high build quality, a broad engine selection, and an efficient diesel option that set new standards. While it couldn't match BMW's driving dynamics, it provided a refined, durable, and well-built alternative. Despite its many flaws, journalists of the era warned readers not to hold any illusions about the brand. They claimed that the once proud reputation of Audi was in decline, the circle of loyal enthusiasts was shrinking, and used Alfa Romeos were nearly unsellable. And they noted, the Italian Alfa Romeo in the tests guzzled fuel. 11.7 liters per 100 kilometers was deemed excessive. Meanwhile, in a head-to-head comparison, BMW's E36 prevailed. Its driving characteristics and comfort were so refined that it edged out the Audi 80 by just 1 point, 533 to 532. Although the Audi boasted first-class build quality and a refined chassis that elevated it into the premium class, it still lagged behind the BMW. The Mazda Z6, while quiet and comfortable, turned out to be an average performer. And the Alfa Romeo, despite having a strong engine, failed in almost every other category. Over in Great Britain, the magazine Car conducted a similar test in August 1992. In this comparison, the Audi 80 was equipped with a 2.8-liter engine, unlike the 2.6-liter version seen in Germany. 3 front-wheel drive competitors were pitted against the rear-wheel drive BMW. The British reviewers remarked that the third-generation BMW continued to be an object of envy and inspiration. The Bavarian models had outgrown their yuppie image, survived the stock market crash, and even thrived during the early 90s recession. The success of these cars was not just a matter of badge prestige, it was genuine performance. The BMW grew larger and more solid, allowing buyers to step down a class without losing face. Prices for the traditional middle class were rising too. The Vauxhall Cavalier, known in continental Europe as the Opel Vectra, reached a similar price point as the BMW Trio. This wasn't about extra cash for General Motors, it was about expanding the buyer base for BMW. Corporate fleets and leasing companies also shifted their preference toward BMW because of its higher residual value. The British test emphasized that the Audi 80, with its large displacement V-shaped 6-cylinder engine, was offered in Great Britain at a slightly lower price than its rivals, a critical point, as Audi was delivering more car for a lower price. Detailed analysis of design and engineering. The British journalists didn't hold back. They provided detailed observations about Audi's engineering choices. For instance, they noted that Audi's overly complicated engine intake system appeared engineered solely to boost low-end torque, and indeed, it was the highest among the competitors. The British press also highlighted differences in suspension and design details. They mentioned that the Alfa Romeo 155's major drawback was its inherited front-wheel drive from the Fiat Tipo donor car, complete with the same suspension and electronically controlled shock absorbers for the V6 version. In contrast, the Audi 80's exterior facelift wasn't particularly striking at first glance, but beneath its galvanized body, several changes had been made: an increased wheelbase, a modified rear pillar, a new rear window, and new side windows. However, despite these changes, reviewers noted that the trunk's volume remained practically unchanged even after a redesigned rear suspension, which was modeled after the Passat's. They also mentioned that the front suspension was borrowed from the Audi coupe. After examining the Mazda Zetos, the British writers concluded that beneath its aerodynamic exterior lay the platform of a regular car, known by the index 626. They also pinpointed that the rear suspension of the third-generation BMW was a direct evolution from the design used in the quirky Roadster Z1. In terms of performance, the Audi 80 proved to be fast. It clocked 7.9 seconds to 60 miles per hour, 96 kilometers per hour, making it the fastest in the comparison. And it wasn't just about straight-line speed. The Audi 80 offered excellent comfort with good sound insulation, a quiet engine, and a soft suspension that meant the gearbox needed fewer shifts compared to its rivals. Yet, some nuances emerged in the testing. The Alfa Romeo appeared fast only because of its engine noise. In reality, it took 8.5 seconds to 60 miles per hour. The BMW, while spending an extra half second, ended up being the slowest in this particular sprint, with the Mazda achieving 8.3 seconds. Furthermore, both the Japanese and the Bavarian models required high revs for spirited driving. The British reviewers also highlighted that the BMW engine ran smoothly without overly enthusiastic adjectives, but they noted wind noise at high speeds, which BMW mitigated by refining door seals and headlight caps. BMW's brakes were praised, even though the Mazda and Audi managed to stop adequately. Neither quite reached the level of the BMW. When it came to handling in corners, the BMW 320i shone. It handled corners gracefully, and none of the front-wheel drive competitors, Audi included, could match its performance. The reviewers mentioned that BMW's chassis was perfectly balanced, with a slight hint of understeer that provided clear feedback to the driver. In contrast, every front-wheel drive car in the test experienced a noticeable twitch of the steering wheel when traction changed, with the Mazda being the least affected. The Audi, however, suffered from delayed steering responses and an early onset of a skid, meaning drivers had to react quickly and broadly in critical situations. Interior space was another focus. The Audi 80 was criticized for its cramped cabin. Its narrow legroom, bulky dashboard, and protruding steering wheel, combined with recessed side windows, made the interior feel small. Even BMW faced criticism for its central console, yet the overall design of the BMW cabin was considered superior. The Alfa Romeo, on the other hand, offered ample rear space, while the Mazda's low roof and narrow body meant that only a child could fit in the third row without bumping their head. In 1992, Audi expanded its range with the Audi 80 Avant Estate. The first units featured a 2.8-liter engine with all-wheel drive, though the Estate's trunk was smaller than that of the sedan. An interesting note from the reviews: in traffic jams, the Audi 80 Avant often went unnoticed. Its design was mistaken for the Audi 100 Avant, earning it the nickname Sotka among some. The Estate wasn't aimed at small business owners or tradesmen with a ladder in the trunk. Instead, it targeted well-off holidaymakers, those who valued aesthetics over pure practicality. The design was all about style. The Audi 80 Avant looked strikingly different from the sedan, even though its trunk was smaller and its price was higher. By 1992, many German journalists had dropped their earlier sarcasm toward these expensive, style-first estates, a trend that hinted at the later rise of crossovers that combine all-wheel drive with estate styling at a premium price. Despite its premium features, the Audi 80 was not without its long-term challenges. Over 100,000 kilometers, various faults were noted by testers. For instance, the car once stalled at 11,105 kilometers due to a faulty electronic shutoff valve on the fuel pump. Other issues included a draft in the cabin from a footwell flap, failing odometers and speedometers, leaking pumps, and multiple problems with the audio system and interior components. Brake pads and tires were replaced at regular intervals. Front pads at around 59,633 kilometers, and the original Uniroyal Rally 380 tires lasted until 86,351 kilometers. Despite these issues, the body and interior trim held up remarkably well, with no significant signs of wear even after extensive mileage. However, the Audi 80 was expensive, and its resale value dropped significantly after 100,000 kilometers, even though its operating costs remained lower than those of competitors like the Opel Astra or Renault Clio. Audi offered a wide range of engines under the 80 banner. For export markets, a 1.6-liter engine producing 70 horsepower was available, later upgraded to a 1.6e with 100 horsepower at an extra 500 marks. However, this small engine lacked low-end torque and had to be revved high, up to 6,000 RPM, resulting in increased fuel consumption and poorer acceleration compared to the 2-liter model. The Audi 8016V 140 horsepower was another variant. Marketed as the production version of a racing car, one that had won the French Body Championship, it featured a 4-valve per cylinder head on the classic 2-liter block, along with sporty seats and extra instruments. Although its engine sound was described as harsh and its fuel consumption reached 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers, its acceleration of 10.6 seconds to 100 kilometers per hour was considered acceptable for 1994. But the most intriguing twist came with the introduction of the RS2. Although not developed by Audi alone, with Porsche's engineering influence evident, the RS2 shared its body with the Audi 80 B4. This high-performance model marked a new era for Audi, even though it remains a separate chapter in the brand's history that deserves its own discussion. So, what's the final word on the Audi 80? Despite a long list of criticisms, from cramped interiors and heavy handling to various long-term maintenance issues, the Audi 80 stood as a remarkable example of German engineering. It offered an extensive range of engines, innovative design updates, and even managed to challenge BMW and other competitors in key areas. While the Audi 80 never completely dethroned the likes of BMW in terms of driving dynamics, it carved out its own niche by offering superior build quality, durability, and a broader model range. For those who valued quality and reliability, the Audi 80 was a worthy, albeit expensive, choice. What do you think? Did the Audi 80 live up to its premium ambitions, Or did it fall short compared to its rivals? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this in-depth look at a classic piece of automotive history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more detailed reviews and deep dives. Thanks for watching.